Will it be fear or greed? And is it over for the cryptocurrencies? What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line. And of course, this is our weekly edition of the daily updates, all combined down to one to give us a look ahead into next week. And wow, what a week. I don't think that anybody should be surprised. We talked about it actually every day. We've talked about it for the last couple of weeks that we're starting to see some volatility in the markets, which would lead to some violent action, and it could be up or down. And so far, it's been down. Pretty nasty. And, you know, we had the first 3% sell-off in over 2 years. So we are now starting to see some action, some price volatility, some implied volatility, which is good. Again, whether the markets go up or down, traders really want to see volatility. It gives you better opportunities. So the question is will this week bring more fear, or will the greed come back in and we start to see some more people buying up and trying to buy the dip in the bottom? And I think you'll probably see a little bit of both. I think that you'll see some buyers step in. Now, whether they be Monday or Tuesday, I can't tell you. I can say this, that the pattern that we saw at the end of last week was very reminiscent of the 1987 pattern that created Black Monday. Now, again, the way that we had Black Monday in 1987 can never happen again because of the circuit breakers in the market. But I would not be surprised to see an ugly down opening. Also, I would not be surprised to see a vicious rally to the upside, and that's the real key here. The rallies we see now, if the Dow and the S&P and the major indexes fail to take out the highs, that would be the indication that the market top is in. Now, I do believe that it is in now, but that doesn't mean that you instantly go to become a seller. That means that you now watch and look for these big, vicious rallies that will then be sellable. And, you know, again, it won't be the same dribble up. And what you're seeing here is with the increase in volume and the increase in activity, you're getting more opportunities. For example, the Dow future for weeks was trading under 100,000 contracts. Last week, it averaged about 250,000 contracts. So we're seeing a lot of reasons to believe that the tops of the markets are in. We're seeing a lot of reasons to believe that the markets are now ready to take that long-awaited correction that is going to come. Now, I think this is going to be a very ugly and nasty correction. There will be big rallies. There are still going to be a lot of money coming in to try to pick and buy the dip as they've done for the last 9 years. But it will not be an overnight bang them down. It's going to be just ugly. You know, again, everybody talks about 08, but 08 took from the beginning of the year, basically, even if we say September, until the following March before it bottomed. And I think you're looking for something similar in this case. It's not going to be down overnight. It's not going to be ugly because you're going to have a lot of money trying to flow in here, trying to buy it, trying to buy that dip. The difference here is we've got 10-year rates pushing higher. We've got 30-year rates pushing higher. Interest rates are rising as much as the ignorant Federal Reserve tries to keep a lid on the market. They cannot do so, and interest rates are rising. So the Fed and the central banks around the world, their last chance to try to control rates is trying to control them through the dollar. The dollar has been punished relentlessly, but I think they'll lose control of that too. You know, we have to remember that as we talk about all markets are the same, all charts are the same, all patterns repeat. Well, the Fed is just like a chart. They've never made the right decision in the moment of the clutch, and I don't believe that this will be any different. I think they're going to have the same ridiculous outcome, which is they're going to puke and panic at the wrong time, and interest rates are going to take off. If you think they're running up now, wait to see when the Fed blows it. So that is something that is very interesting here. Now, the markets made new highs a week ago Friday, and that was what we call the blow-off top. This week was very volatile, and of course, Thursday and Friday got clobbered. Now, as you looked at it and you watched it, you could see that there is pure panic. Now, one of the big tip-offs was we had great earnings from Google, from Amazon, from Apple, from Facebook, from BUBBA, but look what happened to the stocks. Other than Amazon, which was the only winner and really gave up a lot of ground, all of them failed to rally. You know, Apple tried to rally. It was up to 175 in the pre-market, closed at 161, down 10% from its highs. So these are things that you start to notice in these markets, is when companies are beating their expectations, yet the stocks sell off. And that's not a bad thing unless you're an investor and a holder. But again, if you're an investor, you shouldn't be worried about any short period of time. But what it does tell you is it says, hey, we've already priced in everything. The markets are priced in just about everything. There's nothing that I could possibly see that the markets have mispricing in, and I believe that they've been overpriced. I believe years from now, this will be called one of the greatest bubbles of all time, because you have every pundit, every broker, every advisor trying to tell you that this time is different, and the market, this is a new dynamic in markets, which is never the case. It's one thing to think it, but we all know that eventually you can't keep up the pace and the speed in which they were going, and there's going to be some retracement. Now, again, that is not a negative on the Americas or on the stock market. It's just simply the market needs a little breather. This is really, you get bigger moves like this when you have a manipulating factor inside trying to manipulate and run the markets versus letting the markets trade freely. Now, it is in my opinion that we would have been totally out of this recession, because I don't think we've left the recession yet for 10 years. Now, there are some good things happening, but I think what you're seeing is if the interferers or the interlopers would have left the markets to be what they would have been, we've been out of this years ago and be having much stronger growth. So if you think the growth is strong now, which I don't think it's as strong as they're trying to put it out to be, but if you think the growth is strong now, we would be much stronger and be on the mend and healing instead of $20 trillion in debt with the Fed with a $5 trillion balance sheet. So we look at the jobs number, you know, a good number, beat the street, and so no problem and no surprise that the market sold off. Because again, now what you're seeing is good news is probably going to be bad news. This is the warped mind of Wall Street. The free money looks like it's ending. So now good news, which means interest rates will rise, will start to create sell-offs versus the bad news. So for 9 years, we've been on bad news, the markets pause and then go higher. Good news for the markets, they just go higher. Now I think we're going to start to see a reverse of that trend, where good news might give you a quick jolt, but then down. And then, of course, bad news will just take it down. These are things that you learn to watch when you're watching what we call the market tape and the market action. Things have already been priced in well ahead of time. Now, there's big talk about the FISA warrants and all those things going on. Look, we all know that most politicians are dirty to begin with. All right, let's not beat around the bush here. Most politicians are dirty anyways. There's always something underneath the surface, and they're not really there working for you and me. They're working for themselves. You know, obviously I can't blanket everybody in that, but there's a great deal of them that are crooked, okay? And a great deal of them that don't do the right thing, that only care about what brings them in the money, all right? Why else would people go into office with no money and come out, you know, multimillionaires? So as we look at where we are, okay, and what's going on, you've got a major problem. And that's why you've got, you know, Trump, I think, is one that is not dirty. I think Trump is as clean as can be. You know, he may not have been in his real estate business, but here I think he is. And I think he wants to get everything done in the right method. And this FISA thing tells you that maybe, and again, I'm not saying or accusing, but maybe Obama was a little bit dirty. Maybe somebody else was a little bit dirty. You know, again, and it doesn't, this is not a This is not a party thing, because I guarantee you, if you look at the sheets of all these people in both sides, there's a lot of dirt in there, right? A lot of things that, so this is not a party issue. It just happens to be that's the latest one, and this is the one that may come out. But I don't think that will have any major effect on the markets one way or the other. I think, again, this is where we look. The key now is the jobs number. If they keep continuing to get better, that's going to create a problem. We've got, and just because the markets are well overdone, not for any other reason. Then you've got the yutzes that are saying, well, you know, we're going to have, there's no sign that this market is a bubble. This is from the San Francisco Fed. You've got the Atlanta Fed telling that we're going to have 5% growth. Do you realize what it would take to get 5% growth in this country other than on a miracle sale of something? We have not gotten to that point where we're going to see these kind of numbers. First of all, I don't think it can happen again anyways. I think we're too big to get to 5%. But even if we can get to 4%, which I don't think that's very likely anytime soon, it means you need to bring more business back here. It means we need to have these trade wars, which is everybody is worried about. And this is something that, you know, and again, I'm not an economist, and I may be wrong here, but I don't understand what the big deal is with the trade war. I don't understand whether there's a big thing of tariffing things that are coming in. You know, we pay big money for duty and things like that as things come across. And of course, the smart business guys figure out how to skate a lot of that extra duty and the way that you manufacturing something. But we pay between freight and duty to buy something in China. If it costs $5 in China, by the time you land it might cost you $15. I do believe that we could do better if we did it in this country, and probably for similar money, because there's plenty of guys that would work for less money to be able to deliver goods faster. All right, and it goes back to the example I've used many times, which is the iPhone. It would cost $50 more approximately to assemble that phone in the United States. And I don't know anybody who wouldn't pay $50 more for an iPhone, going forward. So we've got all of these issues that are going on, and that doesn't take into consideration the debt ceiling. Now, this is where I think that President Trump is doing a phenomenal job not giving in. And I'm hoping that he doesn't give in on this, which is normally on these debt ceiling debates, you end up with a big situation where the other party, and again, this goes to either party, the other party works in some ridiculous bill that nobody wants, but they can't get through anybody else, so they hold the side hostage. So far, I think we've had 5 or 6 CRs, continuing resolutions, to put these up, and so far, Trump has not given in, and I don't think he'll give in this time. I think he will shut it down permanently and not go for continuing resolution if the Democrats continue to try to hold this ridiculous immigration and things over it. I mean, think about it, and we'll get more into this when we get into my commentary later, but think about it. They're trying to hold him up for things that he doesn't believe in, things that are wrong, and it's really a very tragic situation. Very much like things that happened at the State of the Union on Tuesday, which we'll talk about when we come back from the break. This is Bubba's Bottom Line, and I am Todd Bubba Horwitz, and I thank you for being here. In the meantime, as we step out here for a break, I want to remind you about our high school investing program. It's highschoolinvesting.com. Check it out. We're trying to raise money. It's a program that's been in existence for 7 years. We have 300 and some high schools that we personally fund and give money to. We get no pay back. We give it away. I provide them with lesson plans, recordings. The whole website is done to be a self-taught course. And of course, we're looking for some help to continue to grow this, and so we can continue to provide the high school kids with a financial education, financial literacy, so they can get through and we don't have these same problems. You know, I won't be around when they get there, but at least hopefully they can straighten out America and straighten out what's going on financially and get rid of all the dust and dirt. In the meantime, if you'd like to help out, like our friends Rhonda and Melanie and John, Wisconsin John and Joe and Deborah and others who have done with us, I think that you can go to patreon.com/Bubba Trading. Again, that's Patreon, Patreon.com/Bubba Trading. And anybody who donates, I will give you a 1-week free trial to my futures advisory service. You can check it out for a week for free. All you have to do is make a donation. Size doesn't matter. All right, we're trying to, fund it so we can continue to use the program. That's really what it's all about. And don't forget also to catch the Bubba Show every day at LibertyTalk.fm, my radio show, which plays from 4 to 5 Eastern time every day at LibertyTalk.fm. Welcome back to Bubba's Bottom Line on this, it's actually Super Bowl Sunday. And of course, we've got a lot of things to go over and a lot to cover. And it's hard to squeeze all 1,000 pounds into a 10-pound bag. But, we talked about FISA. We talking about this debt ceiling, which I hope that Donald Trump President Trump continues to hold tight on. I'd rather see him shut the government down. I think that would be a better plan. Again, we aren't defaulting on anybody. That's the bottom line. This is a crock. This is a bunch of crap, and I think that the whole system is breaking down, and hopefully we can finally get some politicians that really want to do what's right for Americans. The tax plan was a start, although it was not a great plan. It was better than nothing. It really does favor the wealthy, but if you remember the one fact that the wealthy pay all the way down, and they are paying, they're giving bonuses, they're giving pay raises, and they're doing other good things. So this is real trickle down economics, because you can start to see, the $1,000 bonuses, the $2,000 or $3,000 saving in your taxes. All of these things start to add up, which do create good opportunities for those. Now we need to free up some more jobs, and we need to free up some more capital through the banks for lending so we can see some more small business. But I think one of the other big problems we're now seeing as well is, we continue to look at the dollar. The dollar continues to remain under dramatic pressure, all right, which is fueling the lack of interest rate rise. But again, that's going to change very soon. Remember, as the markets start to get heavier, okay, as they start to see more pressure, there are 3 places that money goes in times of biggest fear: Treasury bonds, the U.S. dollar, and the U.S. armed forces. All right, so we're going to see that, so that money's going to start to flow into the dollar, and they're not going to be able to manipulate that as well. That's one of these things about these currency wars, and this is where these central bankers just don't get the real world, which is you got to let the markets price themselves. You cannot continue to try to manipulate what they're doing. In the meantime, we've seen a dramatic beatdown now in the cryptocurrency world. Now, the question is it over? And my answer is no. I think it's just begun. I think this is probably a buying opportunity. I'm not going to say Bitcoin. I've heard a lot of negatives about Bitcoin in general, which is just their transaction fees, their charges, and the speed in which they can do a transaction. But the cryptocurrency space is here to stay. And again, and you can buy some Bitcoin. I mean, I'm not telling you that not to buy Bitcoin. I'm just saying that it's here to stay, but all markets go under pressure. All markets have that problem that they get a little bit too bubblish. All right. So now when you start to see other fear in other areas, it's naturally going to create some fear in the crypto space because it's so new. But you can bet yourself that this is probably a great buying opportunity, because I think that the alternative space is a great space to go for investing. And I look at alternatives now. Alternative currency, I look at the cryptos. I don't look at gold as an alternative currency. I look at gold as a hard investment that you're going to have to hold. But did you notice when the market was going down 700, gold was going down a lot as well? So again, that's the thing I don't see. I see cryptocurrencies as a real valid potential currency, which is great. I think the next spot you want to look into is the grain markets. The grain markets had a little bit of a bounce last week. And again, the corn and wheat are up 3 weeks in a row. Those, to me, are some of the most fabulous investments today because of their low value. Now, again, they're not going to maybe go up tomorrow, but I think you're going to see a much bigger move. And I think that you have an opportunity here to really make a lot of money by investing in that space, just because I don't see the risk reward. I don't see the downside potential. I do see a tremendous upside potential. And as money flows out of the equity markets, look for it to flow into the grain markets. Look at the flow into the agricultural markets, because I think that oil and gold are done. Now, gold is just, to me, is just a temporary setback. It's going to pull down. I expect it to test under the 1300 back, maybe as low as 1238, which was the last low. But crude oil, I expect to be over forever. Now, again, I'm sure I'm going to get slapped in the head on this. I'll get a lot of tweets about this. But at the end of the day, I think that the crude oil space is dead. I think this last rally was more based on fear. We're now seeing record production being put out there right now. And I don't think it stops. I think that we get to an alternative energy space anyways. But if you just take into consideration that at current usages, the U.S. has over a 200-year supply ourselves, and we're net exporters, why do we care about everybody else? You've now got Goldman and J.P. Morgan talking about higher oil prices, which means that, in my opinion, they're trying to get short, and they're spoofing the market to continue to get you in. I think that the highs are in. I don't think we see ever 100 again. I don't think we see 70. That's my opinion. And I've had this little bit of a Twitter battle as well. So I think that, you know, what you look at is a whole big situation of a lot of people now trying to figure out how to keep these markets propped up. So you've got some phony forecasts, in my opinion, of what GDP is going to be. You've got a bunch of yapping on nothing of what everything else is going to be. And that, to me, makes the big difference. Now, again, the higher interest rates in general are better for the average American because it will then free up access to some capital. It will also now allow, which will be another reason the market fell off, it will now allow many of those fixed income, elderly or older people, retirees, that don't want to have the exposure of the stock market to now have a place to put their money, because you will start to see bank interest rates rise, fixed income rates rising. So you will get a better choice of opportunity. You know, the 10 years trading at 288 and the 30s over 3, we're at 4 or 5 year highs on rates. People would love to lock in 3%, okay? Because that is about, if you figure out the dividend yield in the stock market is like 3 or 4%, that doesn't count in growth. But of course, we've had so much growth, do we figure that it will come down a little bit? And that's what I would expect to see. And I think that many don't want to be in that position of the stock markets. I think they'd rather be out, okay? And they'd rather be in something what they would consider safer. And I think that's one of the big issues that we continue to ignore, which is another reason I think that the tops of the markets are in. Now, again, I warned you, as I did earlier, that it's not a green light to go out and sell like crazy. What you now want to do is you want to wait for those vicious spike rallies, which you're going to see. And I'll just tell one quick story. It bears repeating. You probably heard it 1,000 times from me before if you've ever listened to me, but it bears repeating. In February of 2009, I was going in for surgery, and I was short, and the Dow was up like 1,000 overnight on a Monday into a Tuesday, and I looked at my phone before the doctor put me out, and I said, do I cover or do I stay? I said, I'm going to stay. By the time I came out of recovery, the markets were down. That's the kind of action I expect. Big, vicious rallies that you think you got to get into, and of course, then they fall. In the meantime, I think that there's a lot of things going on, and one of the things with all of our technology and that we're seeing, you've got major battles going on beneath the scenes, and you're getting a lot of information that is not necessarily correct. And I've seen now some stats on places like Match.com, which have a lot of phony users, a lot of phony profiles on there, not from legit, but I mean because of the, I guess the algorithms they use, they need to create the appearance of more users. I think that's a lot to do with all of these sites. We don't really know what's behind there, and I think those are things that give you false hope or false data. And I think that's really what ties into a lot of things within the overall markets, is all this information that is not necessarily true, but looks like too good to be true. So I think overall, I think we look for equity markets to fall. And again, I don't think they're going to zero tomorrow. I think I think this is the start of the correction. I think it goes down a lot, but I think there'll be rallies in between. So again, this is not, don't go out and dump your portfolio. Don't go and say it's over, it's done. It means to protect yourself, hedge yourself if you can, and learn how to focus on what's happening in the markets. I think you look to buy grains. I think you sell oil. I think you sell gold for now, but I am a long-term bull in gold. I think you look to buy cryptocurrencies. I think those are the things that we often watch, and we sometimes get too far carried away on what problems are and where we're going to go from here. In the meantime, we're going to step out here for a break and come back with my commentary after the break. This is Bubba's Bottom Line with Todd Bubba Horwitz, and of course, highschoolinvesting.com. You know, I'd love to see you help us out. We're just trying to help educate our youth. It's a program that I've done for 7 years for free, and I've financed it all the way along. And of course, I mean, just an example, the website alone costs me $25,000 a year to run. Okay, so that's why I'm looking for a little bit of help through patreon.com/Bubba Trading. And I think all of you have helped in the past, and there's many of you, which I've named many times. But again, if you'd like to help out, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. And if you do that, I will give you 1 free week of my advisory service, so you can check that out. And also don't forget to get the Bubba Show every day at 4 to 5 Eastern time every day, LibertyTalk.fm. You can listen to the Bubba Show. In the meantime, we're going to get back and get ready to go to the show, and I'll have my commentary and my Super Bowl prediction. Welcome back to Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Todd Bubba Horwitz. It is Super Bowl Sunday. We are in February, and it is February 4th. And in the meantime, as we talk about our commentary, I think we have to talk a little bit about the State of the Union. And whether you like Trump or not, again, I'm not going to say every part of the speech was great, but I thought he did a great job delivering a speech. But I think if you're a Democrat or if you're on the left side, okay, you have to be embarrassed by the way that your party acted during this. Again, I have no problem, left, right, whatever side you want to be on. I do believe that both sides have gotten a little bit wacko, which I think Trump is more center. But when Gutierrez walks out of the hall, when the whole hall is chanting USA, 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 to me that shows a lot of disrespect for the country. Forget about what party you're on. When Nancy Pelosi, who calls the $1,000 raises or the bonuses, and she calls the tax cut and she calls it Armageddon, and she says they're little crumbs, and when she is on TV making dirty looks, looking like she needs an enema to help clear her up a little bit, I think that that is another embarrassment to your party. Okay, now I am a libertarian basically. I'm more a center guy. I would vote for anybody if I felt they could do a better job for the country. I am not necessarily right, and I'm not necessarily left. I'm more of the down the middle kind of guy and looking for what's best for the country. But when you start to hear after the speech and you don't see a standing ovation from the caucus about black unemployment at the lowest of all time, I think that's embarrassing. When there was things, I have no problem with people sitting on their hands that are partisan issues that they don't support. However, how can anybody not support taking care of our veterans? How can anybody not support taking care of the overall general country? How can anybody walk out of a hall when we're chanting USA? That to me is an embarrassment. That to me may be the issue that actually causes them the chance to regain a lot of these seats. And when your leader makes dirty looks throughout the entire State of the Union, okay, and does look like she's got either a bad case of hemorrhoids or really needs a bad enema, then that should be something that should worry you, and that she continues to press on this issue that the bonuses that we're giving out are crumbs is even more of an embarrassment. And I think she's making a fool out of herself, especially considering the woman's worth over $200 million and has benefited greatly through what has happened in the stock market. Now, again, I don't begrudge anybody for making money, but I do have a problem when somebody lives in a world of fantasy land and looks at a $1,000 bonus or a $2,000 tax saving as Armageddon and as crumbs. To me, I think that is a little bit of a problem. I think that, again, this just shows you the divisiveness and the division in this country and how a certain party can't at least be things that are neutral, at least cheer on the people that have done things to try to make America better, and that is totally bipartisan and should be done together and looked at that way. I think that's an embarrassment. That's just my opinion. And this was Bubba's Opinion Piece, and this is Bubba's Bottom Line. And of course, we have to come up with our Super Bowl pick. And, you know, obviously the whole world thinks Philadelphia is going to win this game easy. The whole world thinks that there's no chance that New England is going to win, which is why the line has continued to drop down. Well, I'm not part of the whole world. I'm going to tell you that, in my opinion, that New England not only wins this game, but they win it in a romp, because Philadelphia's not playing a Matt Ryan who can't win the big game. They're not playing a Case Keenum who can't quarterback. They're playing the best quarterback in the history of football, and Tom Brady, the best coach team in the history of football. So I have to go with what I think is the best, and to me, the best of it is Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. I know many of you don't like them, but when it comes to wagering on a game, you can't worry about if you like it or not. You got to go for the winner. In the meantime, thanks so much for being with me on Bubba's Bottom Line. Don't forget to catch the Bubba Show every day from 4 to 5 Eastern at LibertyTalk.fm. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we will see you back next week. And look for tonight to be kind of ugly when the markets open at 6 o'clock Eastern. Thank you, everybody. Thanks. Have a great week.